Currently, Earth. On June 28th, in 1519, Charles I of Spain, who by birth already held sway over much of Europe and Spanish America, is elected successor of his late grandfather, the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I. Charles, who was also the grandson of Ferdinand II and Isabella of Spain, had bribed the princes of Germany to vote for him, defeating such formidable candidates as King Henry VIII of England, King Francis I of France, and even Frederick the Wise, the Duke of Saxony. Crowned as Emperor Charles V, the new Holy Roman Emperor sought to unite the many kingdoms under his rule in the hope of creating a vast universal empire. However, his hopes were thwarted by the Protestant Reformation in Germany, a lifelong dynastic struggle with King Francis and the advance of the Ottoman Turks into Europe. In 1558, after nearly 4 decades as Holy Roman Emperor, Charles abdicated the throne in favor of his brother, Ferdinand. He had already granted much of the other European territory under his rule to his son, Philip. On June 28th, in 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife Sophie continued their eternity. The couple was shot by a Bosnian Serb nationalist during an official visit to the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo. This event sparked a chain of events that led to the outbreak of World War I. The Archduke traveled to Sarajevo in June 1914 to inspect the Imperial Armed Forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina, annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908. The annexation had angered Serbian nationalists who believed the territory should be part of Serbia. A group of young nationalists hatched a plot to kill the Archduke during his visit to Sarajevo, and after some missteps, 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip was able to shoot the royal couple at point-blank range while they traveled in their official procession. Austria-Hungary immediately blamed the Serbian government for the attack. As large and powerful Russia supported Serbia, Austria asked for assurances that Germany would step in on its side against Russia and its allies, including France and possibly Great Britain. On July 28th, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the fragile peace between Europe's great powers collapsed, beginning the devastating conflict now known as the First World War. After more than 4 years of bloodshed, the Great War ended on November 11, 1918, after Germany, the last of the Central Powers, surrendered to the Allies. At the peace conference in Paris in 1919, Allied leaders would state their desire to build a post-war world that was safe from future wars of such enormous scale. On June 28, 1919, 5 years to the day, after Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie continued their eternity, Germany and the Allied powers signed the Treaty of Versailles, officially making the end of World War I. The harsh terms imposed on Germany within the Treaty of Versailles, the war's biggest loser, led to widespread resentment of the treaty and its authors in that country, a resentment that would culminate in the outbreak of the Second World War 2 decades later. On June 28th, in 1969, sometime after midnight, in what is now regarded by many as history's first major protest on behalf of equal rights for LGBTQ people, a police raid of the Stonewall Inn, a popular gay club located on New York City's Christopher Street, turns violent as patrons and local sympathizers began rioting against the authorities. Although the police were legally justified in raiding the club, which was serving liquor without a license, among other violations, New York's gay community had grown weary of the police department targeting gay clubs, many of which had already been closed. Soon the crowd began throwing bottles at the police. The protests spilled over into neighboring streets, and order was not restored until the deployment of New York's riot police sometime after 4 a.m. The Stonewall riots were followed by several days of demonstrations in New York, and was the impetus for the formation of the Gay Liberation Front, as well as other gay, lesbian, and bisexual civil rights organizations. The next year, in 1970, New York's first official gay pride parade set off from Stonewall and marched up 6th Avenue. June was later designated LGBTQ Pride Month to commemorate the uprising. In 2019, the New York Police Department formally apologized for its role in the Stonewall riots. They also apologized for the discriminatory laws that targeted people within the LGBTQ community. All historic information documented on this audio file can be verified on History.com.